Hello watch fans, it's Anders here on Watch On channel. So it's the end of the year and I just wanted to make this video to kind of recap 2021 in the world of watches. So 2021 has been a crazy year. COVID, I became a father for the first time, which is just a beautiful thing. But it's also, of course, a lot of things happening with the watch community and with watches. So I want to make these lists of the 3 biggest pleasant surprises I had with watches in 2021. The 3 biggest disappointments, I think, within watches from my viewpoint in 2021. Then I really want to also tell you what the most idiotic, stupid thing in the watch world was in 2021, and which is probably going to continue in 2022. And then I want to just get very quickly around what my personal plans are for my own personal watch collection in 2022. If you haven't seen my collection, my state of the collection video, you can find the link up in the right hand corner or down in the description. There you can see the whole of my watch collection. So let's start with the 3 biggest pleasant surprises of what I experienced. So this is about watches I had in my hands, I reviewed, I covered on the channel. And the first is the Longshin Spirit. So this is not a completely new model, and it was a model I actually bought. I bought a pre-owned example, the blue one on bracelet, the 40mm version on bracelet, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I also sold the watch again, and I'm going to tell you why, but let's start with talking about why I was very pleasantly surprised with the Longshin Spirit. First of all, I think the overall quality of the finishing on the case, the bracelet quality, the finishing on the bracelet, as well as the dial and the movement, it's very high quality. So overall, a top quality watch. But I did sell it, and I sold it simply because of the locks. The biggest problem I have with Longshin are these extreme long locks. So why make locks of approximately 50mm from lock tip to lock tip on a 40mm watch? Why not keep it down at 47, for example? That would just have made that watch perfect. But unfortunately, I think it wears too big for a 40mm watch, although 40mm 39 to 41 is my personal sweet spot. So if they would ever make maybe a 39mm version, or just do something about those crazy locks, which is the same we see on a lot of Longshin watches, then I will probably get the Spirit again because it's a high quality watch. So the next one is another Swiss watch, and this is from a new brand. They started in 2017, and this is the Navarre Neverest. I got the chance to review the very limited 2-tone version on the rubber strap, and I think it's so pleasant to experience a new brand bulldozing their way into the watch industry, because they don't start with cheap quartz watches or try to make a kind of maybe Omega or Rolex design ripoff. They made their own thing with their own ideas, and they made it with high quality materials, high quality finishing, and a Tudor movement from Kinesi, which is the Tudor movement manufacturer part of Tudor. And I think that watch really just is an amazing example of a company that can actually start out on a very high level instead of starting out as a Kickstarter brand or something like that, which is absolutely no problem. And I think that was just really refreshing to see. But the competition is stiff. You could choose a Tudor, you could choose a Breitling, you could choose a Tag Heuer, a lot of other brands in the same price category, but I can definitely recommend the NORQAIN Neverest. I am leaving reviews of all 3 watches I'm mentioning in my 3 biggest pleasant surprises down in the description if you're interested. So the last one is a Japanese watch, and this was a watch I saw on Instagram for the first time, and that is the Citizen NB105059L. So the blue 38mm kind of dress style watch, but you still get 100 meters of water resistance. You get amazing finishing. You get the 9011 movement, which is the equivalent to the ETA 2824, just Citizen's own in-house movement and the version that they use, because usually when they sell that movement to other companies, it's the 9015. And overall, this watch is top quality. It punches way above its weight, and you pay between $400 and $500 for this little beautiful watch. You can also get it in black and white if you don't like the sunburst blue. And I was very surprised. This is Japanese watchmaking at a very high level, but at a price point where everybody can buy one of these watches. So that was my 3 biggest pleasant surprises I experienced myself on my channel in 2021. So let's take the 3 biggest disappointments. This isn't necessarily something I experienced myself. Some of my disappointments here I did have in my hands. Some is just something I experienced and something I was looking forward to but got really disappointed. And I made a video about the Tudor Marine Nationale. I know this is either a hated or loved watch, I understand, and I can definitely see the qualities of this watch. But for me personally, I think it's a disappointment. I was really just hoping that Tudor were going to release the Marine Nationale, the kind of Tudor Submariner style watch again, or maybe a reworked version of the Tudor Black Bay 58 in a Marine Nationale version. Instead, I actually think they made a little bit of a worse Pelagos, especially because of the fixed locks, the thickness of the watch, and the fact that it doesn't come on a bracelet. You really just have to wear it on a rubber strap or a NATO strap, which just makes the watch seem even bigger on wrist. So I completely understand if people love this watch. I completely understand if people disagree with me. This is just my personal expectation, my hope for Tudor, and I got really disappointed. So maybe the disappointment is really just something about me wanting something else, not about the Marine Nationale being a bad watch. So the second was another Longines I sold. This is the Longshin Hydro Conquest. I got the blue one on bracelet, the ceramic one. Amazing dive watch. I think you get a high quality watch. They could do a little more with the case finishing, but they do a lot with the dial, and the movement is just really good. And I think this is definitely one of the very best entry-level luxury Swiss dive watches you can get your hands on. But what really disappointed me is that they did so much with the design, with the dial, which is just beautiful, but the bracelet is just really bad. So that's just a thing with Longines. I think they still need, as I said with the Spirit before, they still just need to figure out how they just take another step towards actually listening to the buyers, listening to the community. Because I think some of these things, they are really just a product of them not listening. For example, the bracelet on the Hydro Conquest, especially the clasp, it's simply just too cheap to have this very simple fold-over clasp at a watch from Longines, which is an entry-level luxury dive watch. The last thing is something I touched upon, and people get really angry, but that is overall the Seiko quality control arrogance, which I call it. They are very arrogant in my opinion because they don't do too good quality control on their watches. But in 2021, they released a lot of new models and they actually beefed up prices. And that just makes it even more disappointing for me that you can actually produce so many watches, spend so much time always making new watches, new designs, marketing campaigns and all of that. And you spend a lot of time on upping the prices, becoming a little more of a higher end brand, in the sense that Seiko isn't a $200 brand anymore, it's a $5 or $6 or $8 or $1,000 brand, and still not do anything too good about quality control. You expect bezels that are aligned, you expect hands which are aligned, you expect everything to be perfect when you pay a higher price. And how is it that Citizen with the NB105059L can make a perfect watch between $400 and $500 but when Seiko they can charge $800 or $1,200 for a watch they can't even align a goddamn bezel? I think that's really disappointing, and I think it's very disappointing and kind of heartbreaking to see other YouTubers just say, well, that's just how it is. I must learn to live with the bad quality control from Seiko. I don't think that's the right approach. I think they should really stop being arrogant and actually do something about the quality control when they're beefing up prices. So that was my 3 biggest disappointments. So the most idiotic thing, a lot of idiotic things happens in the watch world, and especially with Rolex prices. And the most idiotic here at the end of the year is the prices on the Oyster Perpetual Tiffany dial. It's completely insane. This is a basic Rolex watch. So if you buy it in black or you buy it in yellow or red or any other color, it's nowhere near these crazy prices. It's like 40,000, 50,000 US dollars for a basic Oyster Perpetual 41 just because of the Tiffany dial color. It's not a Tiffany watch. It's not something that is limited. It's not something that is branded and limited. It's just a regular Oyster Perpetual 41 or Oyster Perpetual just with that color dial. It's completely insane. I am completely for the market, the free market, the market decides, supply and demand, all of that stuff. So if people are stupid enough to pay 50,000 US dollars for a basic Rolex watch, which is priced much lower at retail, where you can't get it, be my guest. But that's the most idiotic thing I have seen all year. And it just goes to say the last idiot with a lot of money, he hasn't or she hasn't been born yet. The same money you can get a perfect 3 or 4 watch collection with Rolex, with Omega, with Jaeger-LeCoultre, with Piaget, all of these cool brands instead of just one basic boring Rolex watch. So yeah, very idiotic in my opinion. So 2022 wants from me. And this is just what I'm planning, what I'm thinking about. I don't know if I'm going to change. But I really want to get into the Rolex Explorer Mark II, the 39 with the long hands. The now discontinued watch. This is a watch I've been looking at for a long time. And after I got my Submariner, I kind of closed that department. Now I want an Explorer's watch. And I think this is just an amazing watch. It's a sweet spot, the 39 millimeters. And since it's discontinued, it's a fun watch to have in my collection. So that's one of the watches I'm looking at. Then I really want to look into Panerai. I've never been much into Panerai. I think they're a bit too loud, a bit too big. It looks kind of ridiculous on a lot of wrists because they're so big. But I found the Panerai Luminor 3 days in 42 millimeters or in 38. I need to try on the watch. And I think this is just a really beautiful kind of, you get the Panerai Italian design. You get a sporty look, but it's a very dressy watch as well. So I think it's a perfect everyday watch. Only problem is it's kind of steep with the price and you only get 30 meters of water resistance. But that's something to discuss inside of my head during next year. But I really think I want to try to get into Panerai. It's a brand I never owned before. And the last thing is I simply need, and one of you guys wrote it in the comments for my collection video again, state of the collection video. You can see it by clicking the link down in the description. You can see my entire collection end of 2021. One of you guys mentioned you should really get into JLC, Jaeger-LeCoultre. And I completely agree. I think JLC is a sweet spot within luxury watches because they are much lower priced than Rolex, for example. They're almost kind of priced just a little bit higher than Omega, but you're actually getting into a high horology brand. And I've been looking at the Master Control or the Polaris. That's one of those two I'm looking at right now. The Polaris I've been looking at earlier, and now I think maybe a Master Control, maybe one of the older versions with the 40 hours of power reserve. It doesn't really matter to me to get a classic dress watch. I'm not a classic dress watch guy, but I need a classic dress watch in my collection. And I think maybe one of those Master Controls, you can get it at around 5,000 US dollars. It's just an amazing value proposition. You get into a high horology brand, the watch for watchmakers, as they say. So maybe a Master Control or Polaris is something to look into. That's what I'm looking at right now, the Rolex Explorer, the Panerai and the JLC. So thank you guys for watching my videos, commenting my videos, subscribing to my channel, sharing my videos. It's a big joy for me to kind of have built a little community with more than 22,000 subscribers now. So thank you a lot, and I really hope if you haven't yet subscribed, please do. Also, I would be really interested in having your lists. So the 3 biggest pleasant surprises of 2021, the 3 biggest disappointments, and what you are looking into in 2022 regarding your own collection. Please leave that down in the comment section. I would be very interested in seeing what you are planning and what you think about what happened in 2021. So Happy New Year, guys. I will see you next year with a lot of new content. Have a nice evening, a nice New Year's evening. Thank you. Bye.